My dog is here as well, and he occasionally tries to audition.
Great. We love that.
We love that. We love we do rehearsal. We do rehearsals with at our soprano Joe's house, and she's got a little greyhound called Ernie, and he's become the 8th member.
That's all the time.
Yeah. It's charming for a bit, but after a while you have to kind of deal with it. But he's actually usually pretty good after a minute or two. But he's quite quiet right now. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hello, how you doing?
We got Oliver Griffiths and Tom Hartley. Guys, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves personally first, your background, and then we'll talk about the group and the single and song that's coming out.
Sure, yeah. I'm Oliver. I've been singing with the group, the Swingles, for the last 13 years, so this has actually been a big part of my musical history, but a singer from the West Country, currently live in London. Yeah, that's me.
Nice. Hi, Ron. I'm Tom. So on the other side of the Swingles, I'm the newest member. I've only been in the group for about 4 months now. I am a Dorset boy, born and raised, went to uni in Cardiff, and now live in London in Greenwich. So definitely stuck around the south, south of England.
Tom, tell us what it's like as a new guy in the group, especially as it's obviously a very well-established, almost institution is almost the word. How did it feel to join such I'm assuming it's a tight-knit group. What was that like?
Yeah, joining was going to be daunting in some capacity because of that exact reason. It's a very tight-knit group. It's kind of one in, one out, so there's only one voice per part. So it really is a kind of embodiment of one voice per sound. And so I was really worried that almost I was going to have to change my own voice to fit in, but it's been far from that. The group's been so lovely and really kind of willing to change the sound based on what I've been bringing, but also kind of staying true to our Swingle sound and the sound we've had for the last 60 years. So I've had such a lovely transition from my previous world into this group. So yeah, it's been fantastic.
What was your previous world?
That's great.
Sorry, I missed that, Oliver.
We didn't even pay him to say that.
What was your previous world, Tom?
Well, I have a bit of a weird way in. So I've sung for the last 10 years, but just as a hobby. So I was a pharmaceutical engineer for the last 4 years. And I just sang in a cappella groups and choirs through kind of school and university and postgraduate life. Like I said, it's a one in, one out. So my predecessor, Ed Randall, left after 11 years in the group, wanting to explore some new adventures. And I thought I'd audition and see how it goes. And 5 months later, I'm speaking to you on the radio. So it's a wild world.
It's not your usual route into a band. It's you say pharmaceutical engineering.
Absolutely.
Oliver, can you tell us a little bit about the background of the Swingles? I recognize the name immediately because I'm quite old, from almost my youth. The Swingles Singers was the original name of the band.
Yeah. So the group, the Swingles Singers, it's been around. We're coming up to our 60th anniversary as a group. And it was a group that was founded by an American called Ward Swingle in the early 60s. And he was living and studying jazz piano in Paris. And a bunch of his friends there were all studying jazz and were really immersed in that world, which was, of course, incredibly vibrant, the jazz scene in Paris in the 60s. And they started this group where they would, sing the works of Bach, but with a jazz beat. And they recorded this just as a gift for their friends for Christmas, and it got picked up by a DJ and went, words we'd use today, it went viral. And so that album was nominated and won a bunch of Grammys, and their first live performance as a group was in the White House in America. And the group has been here ever since, and it relocated from Paris to London in the 70s, and since then it's been an unbroken line of singers right the way through. So in that time period, we've been the Swingle Singers, we've been Swingles 2, we were the Swingles, then back to the Swingle Singers, and now we are the Swingles. But it's the same group with an unbroken line right from Ward Swingle in the 60s in Paris.
What do you mean by unbroken line?
So there's never been a point in the history of the group where it's stopped
Right.
dead, and then it's been fully auditioned. There's always been a handover from singer to singer, and I think that's how we've managed to maintain a consistency of sound over the last 60 years. So when I joined the group and I had to learn some of the Bach fugues that the group has sung for at that point had sung for 50 years, I was singing in a group by someone who had been taught by Ward Swingle how to sing it. So there's always the handover. It's like a thread that runs throughout the whole thing. Yeah, indeed. Very important.
Neither of you could have been remotely even been thought of, let alone been born 60 years ago.
Not well. We've got very good surgeons.
Yeah.
Is it like being part of a family, being in the group?
100%. Yeah. It's I think what thankfully is that I think especially when we're performing live, it's so clear to tell if a group likes each other or not, or gets along with each other. So it's with our best interest to be friends, but it's just the way and the nature of this job and the group that we're in, is that we just tour together and we work together and we kind of form these really fond, close relationships, through recording albums and through kind of some real hard knit moments of just trying to create music and share with the world. But yeah, we're all really firm friends, and it's so lovely because I think that's now translating into the songs that we're releasing.
Yeah, and we're very connected with people who've sung in the group in the past, many of whom are still very active in the session scene in London and in the music scene here. So it's not uncommon that we'll, find ourselves at a gig and there'll be 6 or 7 ex-Swingles in the room. And usually when we get together, we can all sing one of the fugues and we all do it exactly the same way. And it's this really wonderful thing that we share with a group. But we think now at about 88 Swingles there have been in the whole history of the group.
88 members of the group.
In total, since 1962 until now, we think it's around 88.
I know with members of my family, I'm kind of pleased to see them, but also quite pleased to get a break from them sometimes.
Oh yeah, always the way. We bicker like siblings. It's usually when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're having to get up to go to the airport and you don't want to talk to anyone, let alone,
So roughly how many days a year are you on the road?
It's a real mix. I mean, obviously our whole industry has been really it's suffered in the last few years. So we're not back to full steam at this point, but on a good year, we're looking at being away a good chunk of every month. So it's a full-time commitment for us where we tour predominantly internationally. Like we do some work in the UK, but most of our work is to the far-flung corners of the globe. So that involves travel, obviously, as well, and time to get there and back. So we're away a good chunk of the year on a busy one.
Right. I don't usually use industry buzzwords, but I'm going to make an exception. Tell us what you got dropping at the moment.
Well, we have. We've got a project and we've got 2 songs coming with a fantastic group, Varde, who have been our friends for a number of years. We've kind of worked with them and performed with them in some capacities here and there, but we were kind of looking for the right song, the right moment to kind of get things on tape and really collaborate and get something out in the world. And so we've just got a song, a cover by Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, with Varde that's just been released a few days ago. And coming soon on kind of Varde's side of things, we've got the fantastic Time After Time by Sidney Lauper as a cover, again, Varde and Swingles collaboration. And Man in the Mirror, I'm so proud of it. It's such a fine kind of just the energy that we brought into this piece and the kind of the arrangements from our tenors John and Varde's Phil. It's been fantastic to share.
I was interested in the fact, how do I say this politically correctly, that the Swingles are a white band. Everyone in the band is a white person, and everyone in Varde is someone who's black. Now, I was quite interested in that dynamic, obviously not from a racial point of view, but how the whole thing blends together, because there are presumably cultural differences. But how did that work at the end of the day?
But you know what? We're the two of our groups obviously are musical. Even within the Swingles, where you're right, at the moment we are a fully Caucasian lineup right now, but we all come from very different musical traditions. So it's something that we are used to. In fact, more than used to, we encourage within the group, like leaning into our different musical traditions. And, you know, some of us are choral singers and some of us are soul singers and some of us are musical theatre singers. And it creates an energy of sound. And so for us, the opportunity to collaborate with people who do something very different from what we do is a gift, because it makes we get to bring something to the table, but also we get to learn and to grow and feed on the energy that is being brought by something that we might not normally have done before. And, you know, the guys in Vade are just such killer musicians that, you know, came to the table as we all hope to, like, on fire, ready to go. And to watch them sing, watch them perform, watch how they approach creating music is just inspirational and wonderful. And so the whole process for us was a total gift. And they are, if you don't know their other music, go and listen to their back catalogue. They are absolutely stonking singers. So for us, it was just a real gift to be in the room with them.
Hearing you say that just makes my heart sing. You know, that collaboration.
Excited about the whole thing.
Yeah. Now you've got a vocal weekender coming up in May. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we used to kind of before the dreaded C word a few years ago. We had a festival called the London A Cappella Festival, LACF, and it was really a moment just to kind of share musicians and artists and groups from London or around the world, really, and kind of make a moment in London to share that. And now we're coming out of this moment. We really wanted to create something in a kind of same vein, but different and new. And rather than focus on a cappella, really open it to the broader world of the voice. It's such an amazing instrument, and so many practitioners around the world are using it in such different ways and styles. So this weekend is kind of the rebranding and the rebirth of that festival, but in a whole new light. And we've got a new album coming up, and we've got a few projects and things that we're going to kind of tease and release in the weekend. And we're joined by such fantastic collaborators. So it's going to be such a lovely time, and in London, in our hometown, which will be brilliant to share with friends and family who can't sometimes come out to see us across the world.
Yeah, so there's going to be a chunk of educational stuff with that as well. So there's going to be some scratch choirs and some performance things. And we've got the London Gay Men's Chorus are going to be there. Choir Co are going to be there. Roshani Abbey is going to be there. A bunch of other amazing stuff. So it should be a really varied Friday and Saturday. And it's the 5th and 6th of May, which that date might be ringing a bell for you already, because a certain coronation event might be happening at the same time, but it's just another reason to come to London and see the festivities of what's happening in London at that time.
So you might get a phone call in the middle of it and have to rush out to the palace or something.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got them on speed dial, so it's just a matter of time, really.